Part 244. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2435. Who can I ask? Man Bao slammed him. Are you inquiring with Lord Gu? Don't you have a good relationship with him? Xiao Yuan looked out nervously and said in a low voice, Don't talk nonsense, where is our relationship? However, Xiao Yuanzhen was still paying attention. As soon as he looked up, seeing Zhou Man was still here, he waved his hand and said, Okay, go out and see how many people are seeking medical treatment today. Get things done as soon as possible, and everyone can go home. He said, It's rare that everyone in the Taiyuan hospital has a reward. Today, they must go home early to celebrate. The imperial decree leaves the palace in the afternoon, so you have to go back to receive the decree, right? When Man Bao heard this, he didn't dare to linger, and went out to read the list that was handed into the imperial hospital. As soon as she came out, imperial physician Zheng gave her a seat and said to her, Concubine Yang Gui in the palace is ill, and concubine Yanda and concubine Zheng Xian are also a little sick. Which one do you want to take? Man Bao directly ordered concubine Yang, I'll drop by to see the two princesses. Yang Guifei lives close to the queen and has a good relationship with the princesses. If you go to see her doctor, you can turn around to see Princess Mingda and Princess Changjiao. Imperial Dr. Zheng took out a few more sheets and said, There are also doctors outside. The son of Han Shangshu's family broke his leg in a wrestling, and he wants an imperial doctor to go over. Well, this is not suitable for you, this, Mrs. Pai Kuagong. I'm also sick, no one has seen this, his house is not far from yours, do you want to go and see? Man Bao, I still need to receive an outpatient clinic. She has taken the orders from the palace. Zheng Tai said, the Tai is not enough. The hospital is bringing back a lot of data. You just summed it up roughly. We have to archive it here. Man Bao thought for a while, but didn't really want to leave the palace and enter the palace again. Zheng Tai probably also knew, so he said, You can go to see it today, and you can go to see it tomorrow, and then let the Duke of Pai put a list, and go back and file the two pulse cases together. Man Bao quietly glanced at Xiao Yuanzhen's office, Can you do this? Zheng Tai, yes, after all, it is not easy to enter the palace, and it takes a long time. If it is not a serious illness, it is not a big deal. Since you have received an outpatient clinic, would you like to take another order from the Zhao Kuagong's mansion? Man Bao asked, their lady of the country. No, Zheng Tai glanced at her and said, It's their family's first wife. Man Bao raised his eyebrows and said yo in a rising tone, not knowing what he was doing. Zheng Tai smiled. All Tai Hospital knew that Zhou Man's last visit to Zhao Kuagong's mansion was mostly because of the wife of the prince. After all, the wife of Zhao Kuagong was ill, and their family was the wife of the prince. Man Bao took two orders, nodded and said, Okay, I'll go take a look. Man Bao first went to see concubine Yang Gui. She was suffering from cold. She followed the empress, so she used to ask imperial physician Lu. Later, she liked to invite Zhou Man. Later, as long as Zhou Man was in the palace, she would invite Zhou Man, which was more diligent than the queen's asking Man Bao, so Man Bao knew her well. As soon as she felt her pulse, Man Bao knew why she had been ill since March. To put it bluntly, she had a poor appetite, poor diet, and lack of yang energy. So Man Bao asked her to go out in the morning and evening to bask in the sun. The sun is not big right now, especially in the morning, when the sun is warm and warm. If you eat too early in the morning, take a wooden couch and go out to bask in the sun, and get more Sunday the back. After 4 or 5 days in the sun, the disease will be cured. Concubine Yang Gui and her maid were taken aback for a while, no need to take medicine. Considering that her appetite is not good, Man Bao basically can't eat anything after taking the medicine, so he said, I'll give you some medicated meals, mostly porridge, don't take the medicine first, and then give it to you. A few stitches, and the rest is waiting for you to bask in the sun. He also warned, remember, it is the sun in front of you. If you are in the afternoon, you can bask in the sun after the unitary hour, so as not to get sunburned. Man Bao left her a prescription for medicinal food and a list of meals. She said, sometimes it works better than taking medicine. Concubine Yang Gui nodded again and again, agreeing that she didn't like taking medicine. Man Bao pierced concubine Yang with a needle and then pulled the needle out. Princess Mingda and Princess Changjio came hand in hand to hear the news. Concubine Yang Gui got dressed and smiled when she saw them. You guys can play, don't worry about me. After seeing Man Bao's serious face, he said with a guilty conscience, I will eat well. Man Bao then nodded, put away the medicine box and went to whisper to Princess Mingda and Princess Changjio. After the two princesses and Man Bao said hello to each other, they had only one purpose. We heard Bai Er say, you wait for Bai Shan to pass the official examination and then invite you to celebrate and congratulate him on the title? Then you are also titled, do you want to join them? Have a drink. Man Bao nodded as a matter of course I will. Princess Mingda said, then invite us. Man Bao, I invite you, can you go? Chang Yu said, after Mingda and I went to ask for my mother, Mingda would go to ask for the emperor again. It's definitely possible. Man Bao wondered, you are still filial piety. Mingda and Chang Yu, who wanted to go out to play, stiffened for a while, and then they remembered this incident, and they were a little discouraged and a little guilty for a while. They seemed too unfilial. Man Bao coughed lightly and whispered, if you come out quietly, I can quietly take you to my house. She said, I just learned that last year, Grandma Lu built a flower house on the edge of the back garden. In winter, the windows were sealed from the outside, and it was very warm inside. Open, one by one, it is very beautiful and private, and no one usually goes there, so I will ask someone to set up a table in that corner, and we will eat by ourselves, so that no one will know. Mingda hesitated, but Chang Yu was very moved, and kept pulling Mingda's sleeve to look at her. Man Bao said, if we don't drink, it's not a banquet. My family has little money, so I definitely won't hire a storyteller. At most, I'll invite a storyteller to tell the story. You don't need to listen. It's just a meal, and it's not for fun. Already. Mingda said, I have to ask my father and mother. The emperor agreed. He felt sorry for his daughters. He felt that they had been suffocated in the past 2 years. Because of their filial piety, they could count the number of times they went out of the palace in the past 2 years. In the past, they would invite a few friends in the palace. Come in and play, but I haven't even invited my friends in the past 2 years. The emperor didn't say it, but he kept it in his heart, for fear of boring his daughters. But the 27-month filial piety is what he said personally, and even the prince has been abiding by it for the past 2 years, so it is not easy for him to make special things for his daughters. So when he heard that his daughter wanted to go out, the emperor immediately said, go out, this is not a banquet, just go out for a walk, even if your grandmother knows, she will only be happy. The queen glared at him and said to Mingda Changjio, how can you be a guest at someone else's house when you are filial? It's impolite. Chang Yu, we all went last time. Also said, last time you said to go to Hyogyo temple to offer incense, but you didn't even go to Hyogyo temple. Chang Yu hugged the queen's arm and said, Empress Mother, Zhou Man doesn't care about this, and she is very happy that we can go. That's right, the princess went to congratulate her. How can there be any good or bad words? The emperor defended his daughter and said, my daughter is a dragon girl, and they bring blessings themselves, no matter when they go to anyone's house, it is a blessing. Queen. Mingda also looked at the queen eagerly. See you at 6 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2436. Mrs. Pai Kuagong's wife is not a serious illness. When she is old and encounters a change of seasons, she will always feel a little uncomfortable. After reading it, Man Bao gave her a prescription and a set of acupuncture, and advised her to eat less meat. When spring comes, you can eat more vegetables. Then she walked from Pai Kuagong's mansion to Zhao Kuagong's mansion on another street. The people in Zhao Kuagong's mansion did not expect that the person who came would be Zhou Man, and was stunned for a while. Lu Sunyang, who was an assistant to Man Bao, couldn't help but look at them. Why, isn't this a list from your Zhao Kuagong's mansion? The steward of Zhao Kuagong's mansion immediately reacted and said, bending over, yes, yes, Imperial Physician Zhou, please come in. The prince's wife of Zhao Kuagong's mansion was lying on the bed, and the girl in her yard ran in step by step to report, Madam, the imperial doctor is here. Madam Shiza said, please come in. Then she motioned for the girl to put down the tent. The girl didn't do anything, but leaned in and whispered, it's Imperial Dr. Zhou. Mrs. Shiza. This is a bit unexpected, because of Zhou Man, she was fined twice in a row. Speaking of which, the disease was caused by Zhou Man. Man Bao's speed into the back house was not slow, and soon he arrived at the yard. Seeing that no one was leading her into the house, he turned to look at the steward. Mammy's face was slightly stiff, and she immediately opened the curtain and got in first to report, Madam, Imperial Physician Zhou is here. I had been neglected once last time, but this time it is not good to be neglected. The people in the room reacted immediately, and Mrs. Shiza said loudly, come in quickly. She sat up with the girl's hand, leaned on the pillow and coughed several times. Man Bao and Lu Sunyang entered, first smiled and saluted her, and then asked, what's wrong with you? Mrs. Shiza's face was a little pale, but she looked fine. She said uncomfortably, I just feel chest tightness, cough all the time, and can't sleep well at night. The maid on the side immediately added, our wife invited a doctor to come to see him. She said that she was suffering from cold and prescribed medicine, but it didn't seem to be getting better. I got up this morning and fainted. That's why I asked the imperial doctor. Man Bao glanced at her face again, then took her pulse. After feeling her pulse, he asked, what did Madam have for lunch? Our wife is ill and has a poor appetite, so lunch is useless. Man Bao asked, what did you eat for breakfast? I ate some japonica rice porridge for breakfast. How much is 1 point? The girl was stunned for a while and then said, 3 spoons of it. Man Bao asked, what did you eat last night? I ate a bowl of bird's nest porridge last night. Man Bao, just eat bird's nest porridge. There is still medicine, the girl said. That medicine made me lose my appetite, so Madam couldn't eat any food. Lu Sunyang couldn't help looking up at them. Man Bao couldn't help but think, this is to be a fairy in the sky, just drink Feng Shi Lu directly. Man Bao withdrew his hand and said to the girl, it's all right, the reason why your wife is dizzy is because you are hungry. You go to the kitchen to cook a bowl of porridge, chop some minced meat and cook it together, add some oil, salt, and chopped green onion, and deliver it later. The girl was stunned for a moment, and couldn't help but look at their wives. Madam Shiza blushed after hearing that Zhou Man said she was hungry. Seeing that the girl was still dawdling and refusing to go on, she couldn't help but get angry. What are you doing? Didn't you hear Imperial Dr. Zhou? The girl immediately bowed and stepped back. When she was hungry, Man Bao couldn't even want to puncture the needle, so she simply went to prepare the prescription, and after the prescription was prepared, she handed it over to Mrs. Shiza, and said, this is to ward off the cold and relieve the cough. Eat it after meals. Man Bao emphasized, don't worry, eat first and then take medicine, no matter how bitter this medicine is, it will not defeat your appetite for 2 hours, Don't be afraid, I also added some appetizing medicine for you, take it, you will be able to eat after my medicine. Mrs. Shize, I always feel that she is yin and yang strange. Man Bao just sat and waited, and when their servants finally made the meat porridge and served it up, she watched her eat it. Mrs. Shize ate a mouthful of hot meat porridge, not to mention, her mouth was full of fluids, and her appetite was actually opened. Mrs. Shize ate a bowl of porridge under Zhou Man's watchful eyes. After exhaling, she wiped her lips with pausey restrainedly and said, Emperor Zhou, I'm done, let's get the needle. Man Bao, you don't need to stick needles. Man Bao said, look, you sweat when you eat something, right? This is the food that replenishes the yang energy in your body and forces the cold air out. If you can't eat anything in the future, you will eat meat porridge. This is delicious. Already. After eating for 3 days, I guarantee that whatever you eat is green, and you can't wait to eat it in one bite. Not eating is also a disease, whether it is a weak spleen and stomach or a heart disease, it is a disease and needs to be cured. Man Bao left the prescription and left. Mrs. Shize gritted her teeth, turned her head and instructed the girl next to her, go and pack a red envelope and send it to her. The girl whispered, I gave 5 taels of red seal before. Change to a bigger one. The girl understood, and quickly took out the original purse that was going to be given to the imperial doctor, remembering that there were no silver ingots of 12 taels in the cabinet, so she simply stuffed another 5 taels of silver ingots, and then ran to chase after Man Bao, shoved the purse into her hand with a smile before she left the second door. Man Bao declined as usual, this is my duty. After all, treating the powerful and powerful is also one of the responsibilities of their imperial hospital. As long as they take the order, they will come to see it. Yes, said the girl with a smile, but to trouble Imperial Dr. Zhou to go all the way, our wife is very sorry, so it's good to prepare a carriage fee for you, or take the money to have a cup of tea, you can take it, otherwise, it would be difficult for the slaves to turn around and explain. Although it is the responsibility of the imperial physicians to come to see a doctor, it has always been a rule that they will pay some transportation fees when they invite people to come to the door. If the visiting imperial doctor does not accept it, it will be the end. Either you have offended the palace, or you have offended the imperial hospital. Man Bao pretended to reject it twice before accepting it, and took Lu Sunyang out. Lu Sunyang didn't understand what Master planned, so she couldn't help but ask, Master, why did you come to see her? She had seen that recipe just now, and it was a good recipe except that it was bitter and sour. Man Bao, it's a list sent by Imperial Physician Zheng. Lu Sunyang, what if Imperial Physician Zheng didn't send you? Then I won't come, Man Bao said inexplicably, am I still coming? Lu Sunyang was stunned. Man Bao threw the heavy purse in his hands and said, fool, this is an opportunity to make amends for them, and when I come to the door this time, I just return the face she slapped me back. But you didn't do anything. Just doing nothing is slapped in the face. What I'm going to do is to slap our hospital in the face. There is a possibility of breaking the law, and I will be asked to go to the county government office or the criminal department for a few days. Lu Sunyang, Master, you think too much. I didn't mean that. See you at 9. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2437. Man Bao smiled and said, I know, look at this, their car and horse fee is one more than that of the Duke of Pai. Man Bao opened his purse and gave it to Lu Sunyang. Lu Sunyang did not refuse, but kept it in her purse. Man Bao got on the carriage, returned to the side door of Zhou's house, and took out a silver horn to the coachman, send Sunyang back to the palace. The driver didn't want to accept it, So Man Bao smiled and said, "Take it, I have a happy event today, so I will treat it as happy money." When the driver heard this, he immediately accepted the money, and smiled and saluted Man Bao. "Congratulations, sir, Gao Sheng." Obviously, almost everything in the palace knew about the matter of the morning. Man Bao smiled and nodded, letting him and Lu Sunyang leave. Man Bao and imperial physician Zheng had said that they could enter the palace again tomorrow, but Lu Sunyang obviously couldn't, she still had to work. Watching their carriage go away, Man Bao turned around, and the doorman who had opened the door long ago immediately stepped forward to help Man Bao carry the medicine box. "Miss Man, Master Zhou, MRS Zhou, and Grandma Zhou and the others. They're all at home." In the past, the side door of Zhou's house was closed. MRS Lu considered that the side door from this side was the house where the Zhou family lived. She was afraid that the doorman would not be strict with the outside, so the doorman was always guarded inside, and people outside knocked on the door. Only to know. But since the concierge was punished by Bai Shan last time, the concierge has changed. MRS Lu chose 3 people with stricter mouths to guard the side door together. Like a concierge, he sat on the threshold and watched the people coming and going on the street, so that now the Zhou family even knew how many times a day the Du family next door went out. As soon as Man Bao entered the door, Lao Zhutu, who was sitting not far from the courtyard gate, met her eyes. He immediately put down the cigarette stick, ran up and asked, "Why are you back at this time?" Man Bao looked up at the position of the sun, knowing that the person notified in the palace should not have arrived yet, so he said, "Father, there is a happy event in our family today." "Old Zhutu, are you promoted again?" "Man Bao, it's not even a promotion." "Oh," the voice raised by the old Zhou's head fell, and he said with some disappointment, "Is that the emperor gave a reward again?" "Dad, you know a lot." The old Zhutu said proudly, "That's right, this is what your grandmother Lu said. She said that you have made a great contribution this time, and let us make preparations in advance. I thought you were going to be promoted again. Thinking that if you divide the fields again, can you choose a place nearer, then we can grow vegetables easily. Although I didn't get promoted, I was knighted." "Old Jotio, you couldn't understand, what is it?" "Miss Man, someone is coming from the palace." Before Man Bao could explain, the concierge who was guarding the side door hurried over. A little maid came in behind him, saw Zhou Man standing with a medicine box, and smiled. "Master Zhou is also at home, that's fine, the imperial edict will arrive in a quarter of an hour, you prepare." Man Bao politely responded and asked the concierge to inform the steward to open the door. Then she took her father back to prepare to receive the order, "Bring my mother too, and quickly prepare the things to receive the order." It is not the first time that the old Zhou family has received the decree, and they are still very experienced. The old Zhutu didn't have time to ask what the decree was, so he was busy preparing the incense case with the Qian family. When they were ready, the person who announced the decree arrived. This time, it was the officials of the Ministry of Rites who announced the decree, only followed by the inner servants. The other party was not familiar with Zhou Man, but he was still polite to Zhou Man. After smiling at Zhou Man, he began to read the imperial edict. Man Bao led the old Zhou family to kneel and listen to the decree, and read the long passage. Except for Zhou Lixiu and Zhou Legu, who were at home with Man Bao and Jiu Mu, no one could understand the meaning of the imperial decree. When Zhengongliang, honking and disciplined, etiquette, benevolent, humble and obedient, and meritorious to the country. Now he is consecrated as a holy metaphor and canonized as the owner of Liang Township. Zhou Lixiu and Zhou Legu stayed for a while, but the imperial decree was not over yet, and continued to read. Jing and awarding virtuous workers is a classic of the imperial court, to show kinship, and also to love the sons of man. Zhou Jin is the editor of the Chongguan Museum and the imperial physician of the imperial hospital. Zhou Manzi's adoptive father, benevolent, charitable, and conscientious with others, Zeit was named a political doctor, which greatly increased the light of the forest and gully, and enjoyed the joy of mulberry and elm. This time, Chang Manbao was stunned. She looked up at the officials of the Ministry of Rights in surprise, so this was the main reason why the officials of the Ministry of Rights came to announce the decree? But it wasn't over yet. The person holding the imperial edict paused, swallowed, and continued, "Mother's hard work, righteousness, and truth are both educational, favored by the imperial court. Etiquette is more important than honor. Qian's family is the Chongguan Museum." The adoptive mother of Zhou Manzi, the editor and the imperial physician of the Taiyuan Hospital, Huilang knows righteousness, and is courteous and respectful. Zeit was named the ruler of Lujian County, and he was crowned with the glory of the crown, showing the family style forever. With hot tears in his eyes, Manbao respectfully kowtowed to the imperial decree with a particularly loud head, and said sincerely, "Chen, thank you, your majesty, long en." The decree closed the imperial decree with a smile, put both hands in Zhou Man's hands, and said with a smile, "Master Zhou, congratulations." He bowed to the old Zhou Tiou, who didn't understand what happened, and called out, "Dr. Zhou, come back and ask for a glass of water and wine." Manbao immediately said, "I will go to the Ministry of Rights to send an invitation when I turn around." When the declarant heard this, he burst out laughing and complied. Manbao only prepared a purse, but it was obviously not enough. Fortunately, Zhou Lixiu and Zhou Legu were clever and had already quietly retreated, pulling Xiao Qian directly away, and whispered, "Mother, we need to seal 2 more red envelopes, and copper coins. Take out as many coins as you have at home, and people outside will give them a few strings later. Little Qian, give so much." "Oh, mother, this is not just an imperial decree, there are 3 people sealed on it." Xiao Qian was at a loss, but she still took her son to get the money. Just as Manbao was talking, they took a bag of money to share. The servants and guards who came along also just declined and stuffed them into their arms. "This is happy money, and it would be bad if you don't take it." Everyone left happily. Only then did the old Zhutu speak, "Has this grown-up been drinking? Why are you calling the doctor at me?" "Zhou Lixiu, Grandpa, His Majesty just appointed you to be a political doctor." Old Zhou's heart trembled and he was a little scared. What is this for? No wonder I seem to have heard my name just now." Manbao immediately reassured him, "Father, this is an ian, just a title." Zhou Lixiu had already shouted, "Grandpa, didn't I often say that I would become an official and earn a letter for my mother in the future? This is a letter. You were enshrined by the little ant and became a political doctor, and you will be a person of rank in the future, see you. The county magistrate doesn't have to kneel, and people will call you your master." Old Zhou Tiou widened his eyes in surprise, and felt a little dizzy. After a long while, he swallowed and asked, Why is it me? What about your mother?" Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2438. Qianxi was much calmer than him. Although he was excited, he did not lose his temper. Instead, he asked Manbao with bright eyes, "I seem to have heard me too." Manbao nodded fiercely, "Mother, your Majesty has appointed you to be the county magistrate, the appointment of the 5th grade." The old Zhou family finally understood what happened, and immediately gathered around to congratulate the old Zhutu and Qian. Manbao was pushed outside. Manbao jumped and found that his parents were surrounded by his brothers, sisters, and nephews, so he had to drag a chair over, stand on it and look in. "Father, Mother, I still have something to say." Woolen cloth. No one heard her speak, and Wu Wulang said excitedly, "Dad, this is a big happy event, we have a bar at home at night." Old Zhou Tiou nodded again and again, "Okay, have a drink, and let your sister-in-law do it." Zhou Lixiu said, "Grandpa, Grandma, such a big happy event should be paid for. Old Zhutu still nodded, okay, send money, send money. Qianxi also said, I'll go back and get the money. Old Zhutu didn't wake up at all, and he nodded again and again, his eyes were a little red. But Zhou Lijun had already said excitedly outside, milk, you can't ask for your private money. If you want the public, I'll get the money. So Zhou Lijun grabbed Zhou Liwei and Zhou Ligu at random and went to the warehouse to hold the money. Man Bao took the opportunity to jump off the chair to squeeze in, but the 5 heads led the 6 heads and 7 heads and immediately went in with their heads on their heads, filling the gap directly, Grandpa, Grandma, and us, and us. Full treasure. When Zhou Lijun brought the money in his arms with his 2 younger brothers and directly stuffed it into the hands of Lao Zhutu and Qianxi for them to send, Lao Zhutu came back to his senses. He hugged the money and was reluctant to give it. Qianxi didn't expect that Zhou Lijun would bring so much money. She thought the money was a few $100s. Then so many children and grandchildren would be able to send a few, but this. Qian held the money and held a coin in his hand, but did not move for a while. Only then did the old Zhutu remember his daughter, and after looking around, he shouted, "Where's Manbao?" Manbao squatted on the chair and said dully, "I'm here." Everyone got out of the way, only to realize that because she was wearing an official uniform and an official hat, it was difficult to squeeze in. Everyone smiled embarrassedly and quickly pulled her in. When she saw the copper coins in Lao Zhutu and Qian's arms, she was also happy. "Father, Mother, you can send it, and I want it too." The old Zhutu touched the copper coins, but did not move for a while, but Qianxi picked up a coin and stuffed it directly to her, smiling, "Okay, here it is, take it." The old Zhutu reluctantly gave her a hang, and then asked, "Manbao, does the doctor have money to take it?" Manbao shook his head, "That's a formal seal, not a real official, but the imperial court will give you gifts on holidays." "What gift?" "Not necessarily. They will send rice and noodles, meat, cloth, and clothes. Every place is different, and sometimes there will be happy money." Zhou Lixiu, "Grandpa, the most important thing in this official title is decency. As long as you say that you are a political doctor, people outside will know that you have a child who is at least a 5th rank official. Zhou Ligu, and he has been an official for a long time. Otherwise, he is an official who has won the Sacred Heart. After all, not everyone can get the official title." This time, even Manbao nodded. She never thought that the emperor would seal her parents this time, so she was so surprised. Some officials and the Ministry of Rights apply for official seals, and they may not be able to apply for 7 or 8 years. It is not because you become an official that the imperial court will officially seal your parents and wife. This is grace. What is grace? First there is merit, then there is grace. Regardless of whether it is real credit or hard work, you have to stand first before you are eligible to apply to the Ministry of Rights, and the Ministry of Rights may not approve. Moreover, there is a limit to the merits and favors of officials. You are asking for rewards to parents and wives. When it is your son's turn, the Ministry of Rights will not give them. Therefore, many people will keep this right, and use it for children's reading or for official use. Anyway, the Ministry of Rights has an account. Therefore, Manbao understood that her greatest official position was compiled from the 4th rank, and the 5th rank that her parents had left. When the old Zhutu and Qianxi finally understood that it was not easy to get the official seal, Mrs. Lu had already helped Zheng Shi to come over to congratulate them. Old Zhutu and Qianxi immediately got up and greeted them, and old Zhutu showed off embarrassedly, "It's all this child Manbao. If you want me to say how good it is to leave something like grace to the children in the future, why bother? When is the time for us?" Mrs. Lu smiled and said, "This is the filial piety of the child, and the 2 of you raised her to grow up. This is the honor that your in-laws deserve." Mrs. Lu spoke nicely, and Lao Zhou was so praised that his eyes narrowed with laughter. MRSGN pulled old Madame Lu and laughed, "Grandma, please stop complimenting him, he should be more proud in a while. MRS Lu came here to congratulate, and secondly, to discuss with them about the wine." She smiled and said, "Now the three of us are three happy parties, so this wedding dinner should be well organized." Old Joe tilted his head in confusion, "Three joys? Isn't it four joys?" He counted with his fingers. Bai Shan is awarded the title, the second young master is awarded the title, my son, and I have his mother's appointment, this is the four joys. MRS Lu. She corrected her with a smile, "It's one high for the family and the in-law's mother, the second high for Man Bao's promotion, and the third high for Man Bao and Erlang Shanbao's joint title. Isn't this the third high?" Qian Shi was stunned, and quickly asked, "What does Man Bao's title of nobility mean?" Man Bao, who had been so excited that he forgot about it, immediately reacted, and put the 2 coins in his arms into Zhou Lejun's arms and asked her to help hold it. "Father, mother, I also have a title." The old Zhutu immediately said, "Yes, I also heard your name, 3 times. Man Bao, only the first time I was blocked." Qian asked, "What did you seal? Is it also a county or something?" "No, it's the township owner. The township owner of Liang." Old Zhutu and the others are ignorant, what is the township owner? Man Bao choked for a moment and then said, "It's just a title of a title, similar to Bai Shan's county, and it's only 5 grades. I have 500 households." Old Zhutu and the others didn't know what a food city was, so Man Bao said, "It's in Liang County, the county magistrate will allocate 500 households to me, and the rent and tax paid by these people will be given to me." The old Zhutu immediately understood, the rent for the land. Yes, there are also taxes and taxes. The taxes they hand over will not be handed over to the court, but to me. Of course, she can only take things and money. She has no jurisdiction over the people under Shi, and they are still managed by Liang County. The old Zhutu and the Qian family opened their mouths, they couldn't understand this kind of title that almost one person could replace a country. The next chapter is around 10:30 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2439. Man Bao took a lot of effort to explain the difference between a title and an official position with the old Zhou head Qian Shi. In order to make them understand better, she took King Gong as an example. Prince Gong has no real position now. He used to be a prince. The fief in Luozhu is very large, and the taxes and other taxes in the fief belong to him. Although he has no jurisdiction, it is because of his food. Yi, if he has any ideas, he can talk to the county magistrate there. Man Bao said, "For example, if you give a tax exemption, donate less, etc., you can still talk about it." Later, he was the king of the county, and part of the fief was taken back, and the people in the part that were taken back stopped paying taxes to Prince Gong, but to the imperial court. Old Zhou was dumbfounded, "Are you a prince?" Man Bao, "Father, I'm a 5th grade township owner. There are only 500 households in the food town, which is equivalent to 6 of our villages, or 3 of Dali villages." Qian Shi was also dumbfounded, "That's also very powerful, even more powerful than your father, I'm talking about my father." Old Zhou returned to his senses, and immediately turned his head to ask MRS Lu, "My in-laws, Shanbao also has that kind of town. How many households does he have?" MRS Lu smiled and said, "Yes, like Manbao, there are 500 households." The old Zhutu immediately asked, "Where is that?" He also turned his head and asked Man Bao, "Where are the 500 households in our family? Do you know whose family is whose family?" "It's in Liang," Man Bao said, "I'll go back and ask the county magistrate of Liang, Bai Shan's fief is in Longzhou, not here." When Man Bao said this, he reacted and said, Why did your majesty put my fief in Liang? It should be in Lujiang County. Mrs. Lu smiled and nodded her forehead. Silly child, it's not good in Liang. The emperor's feet are easy to make a living, and they pay more taxes. Liang belongs to Yangzhou, and is very close to the capital. Wanyan County used to be Liang, less than 100 miles from the outer city of the capital, and it can be reached in an hour on a quick horse, which is closer than their Zhuangzi. Of course, Liang is not small, and it depends on where the 500 households are divided. If it is divided into another corner, it is possible to reach it by horseback in a day. But Mrs. Lu didn't think that was the case. She smiled and said, "You are being favored. The Ministry of Rights and the Magistrate of Liang County won't embarrass you too much." More than not being embarrassed, Yueyang received the decree, because the emperor did not specify a specific place, but only gave the title of Yueyang. The county magistrate of Yueyang has a strange feeling, and Zhou Man is afraid that he will be promoted in the future. So he carefully studied the official document, and after pondering for a long time, finally determined that the Ministry of Rights did not designate a place, so he took out the map of Liang County and pondered. After half a day, I circled a small area near Wanyan County, and planned to allocate the 500 households to Zhou Man from here. If she is still promoted in the future, she can continue to allocate to her in this direction. The county magistrate of Liang thought happily, anyway, Zhou Man is a foreign minister, she will be able to rise to the top of the county in the future, and she will have 1,000 households in the food town. At the same time, the county magistrate Guo was sighing at his master. "Master, sir, what's wrong with you?" The county magistrate said, "I'm afraid we won't be able to grab the places we want to grab from Liang." "Master, why does his lord always want to grab territory from Yueyang?" But he still quickly asked. The Ministry of Household clearly refused. "No," the county magistrate Guo said gloomily, "Your Majesty has awarded Zhou Man the title of Liang Township Lord." The master was puzzled. What does this have to do with me grabbing Liang's territory? Could it be that Lord Zhou wants to make decisions for the county magistrate of Liang? The adults of his family are not afraid of this, are they? What are you afraid of? Come on. The magistrate Guo glanced at him and said, "If your Majesty doesn't specify the specific location of the food town, the Liang side will most likely assign the areas bordering our Wanyan County to Zhou Man." Master reacted, his face became indifferent. Oh. It was impossible to grab it, it was all Zhou Man's food, and it was useless for them to grab it, and they couldn't levy taxes or do anything else. It's a pity that the magistrate of Guo, originally, the Ministry of Household has been a little loose, and he almost agreed to assign the township adjacent to their Wanyan County to their Wanyan County. Who knew that a Liang township owner suddenly fell? If the county magistrate of Yueyang was not stupid, he would definitely separate the two counties from her, and then he would not be able to annex Yueyang's territory at all. What a pity. However, the county magistrate of Liang was very happy, and the next day he had people submit the list to the Ministry of Rights and the Ministry of Households. Just when Man Bao sent Bai Shan for reference, turned around to see Mrs. Pai Guo's doctor and returned to the palace, the officials from Liang had already sent the documents to the Ministry of Rights and the Ministry of Household. Therefore, when Man Bao finished busy in the palace, when Xiao Yuan Zheng announced that she and Imperial Physician Lu would be given 6 days off, the Ministry of Rights and the Ministry of Household had already checked the documents and approved it. Man Bao was very happy and left early. When she left the palace, she took a detour to the Ministry of Rights and wanted to ask if her fief had a specific location. The document from the Ministry of Rights hadn't been put away yet. When Yan took it out and showed it to her, "This is the list and number of 500 households, please take a look." Man Bao opened it and looked at the place where they lived. After writing down the place, he began to look at their names. He asked casually, "Is this the place marked by your Majesty?" The official of the Ministry of Rights smiled and said, No, this is the place designated by the county magistrate of Liang. Speaking of which, Wuitun Township, where these villages are located, is still very famous. He said, the ancient city of Liang is here. It used to be the ancient capital of the Qin state more than 1,000 years ago, but a lot of it was abandoned there. When the first emperor, Liang was merged into Wanyan County, but it was later distributed to Yangzhou. Anyway, it is divided and divided, so, very poor. Of course, this poverty is compared with the counties around the capital, and it is much better than Lujiang County. It belongs to Zhonan County anyway. The 4 villages allocated to Zhouman are not bad, but because they were divided up and down, the higher level officials did not take care of them very seriously before, so they were a little poor. Because the Ministry of Rights is in charge of the Crown Prince, and based on the cognition of Zhouman as the Crown Prince, the officials of the Ministry of Rights naturally have a favorable impression of her. After all, they are their own people. Therefore, the officials of the Ministry of Rights, who were asked by Man Bao, were very attentive to Zhouman's science. Because there is an ancient city in Wuitun Township, the commerce was very developed in the former dynasty, and many merchants coming and going to Chang'an would stop there. At that time, Wanyan County was still lively. The capital was war-torn. At that time, when the capital was fighting, many people moved to the nearby Xiang village to hide. Over time, Wuxiang County developed even better than Wanyan County. So after the emperor ascended the throne, he saw that Wanyan County was really deserted, so he merged Liang into Wanyan County. At that time, the magistrate of Wanyan County diverted the people and merchants from Liang to Wanyan County. Ministry of Rights. The official paused and said, but later, because the county was too big to manage, and Chang'an County and Wanyan County should be dominated by Chang'an County, and Yangzhou should be the companion capital, the late emperor returned Liang to Yangzhou. It became a county by itself. However, the merchants, dignitaries and officials who gathered in Liang before went to Wanyan County, and it is impossible for them to go back. Therefore, the ancient city of Liang is becoming more and more abandoned day by day, and now it is no different from ordinary towns. Both, even more dilapidated than them. Man Bao, I'll just eat a meal. Is this something the county magistrates should worry about? The officials of the Ministry of Rights froze for a moment, then nodded and smiled. Yes, it is indeed the county magistrate's concern. On the 5th day of the watch, I'm finally done. Oi. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2440. For example, the palace has a long history and so on. That is the official appointed by the imperial court to manage the food town for them, but of course there is no such thing as Zhouman. She has to discuss with the county magistrate of Liang County herself. Like Bai Shan and Bai Erlang, when they got the food, they directly asked people to pass a message to the local county magistrate. Everything was done in accordance with the court's decrees. Of course, they can manage if they want, but they also have to pass the local county magistrate, such as the king of Yizhu, who used to increase taxes on the fiefs, and he had to say hello to the prefectures and counties first. Of course, it's not that he can add it if he wants to. If the magistrate thinks that his request is unreasonable, he can file a complaint with the emperor, and then the emperor or the royal family Zhongzheng will order the other party and refuse his tax increase. Anyway, it has its own set of rules for operation. Man Bao is the first time as a township owner, and he is not very experienced, so he does not understand these rules, so he occasionally communicates with the new county sons and county men. Bai Shan and Bai Erlang simply acted as shopkeepers. Our food town is far away. In Longzhou, everything is business as usual, and we can't control it. Man Bao went to Mingda and Changyu and said, Your food is bigger than mine, what will you do then? Chang Yu said, there is a long history. Oh, yes, the princess mansion also has a long history. Mingda said, work hard to develop agriculture. Man Bao, didn't you say before that you made a lot of money in the small village of Qilai village? Did you get the money for your study tour at the beginning? Man Bao nodded. Mingda said, I have more villages and food towns, and I can use more land and people. I don't like to do business. Competing with the people for profits will always hurt the people, but the agriculture is the foundation of the country, and it can also support my flowers. Pin. Chang Yu, but my grandmother said that the farmer is poor, and the businessman is rich. You can plant an hectare of land, and the annual income is not as much as a single business. Man Bao said, listening to what you said, it seems that businessmen will not lose. She said, in this world, if there are big benefits, then there are big risks, and the business is not as good as we see it. Man Bao has seen a lot of people on this trip to the western regions, she said. Some people make money by going back and forth, but some people go out and not only lose their brothers' lives, but also lose all their money. The world is impermanent, how do you know that your business can go smoothly every time? Princess Changio said, your fourth brother. That's because he transports goods that are not of great value, and he earns a lot of hard-earned money. Man Bao took a trip to realize that a loss like her fourth brother is not easy to lose, but in the same way, earning not more than others. The most profitable business is still cloth, tea, and porcelain, especially cloth, as if you can sell it no matter how much you ship. But at the same time, it is also the easiest to grab. After all, outside, cloth can sometimes be used instead of money. However, the market has the most stringent requirements for it. As long as there is a little flaw, the value will be greatly reduced, and it will be exposed to rain, moisture, or stains. And it's also the easiest to steal. That is to say, the most imported medicinal materials on Thursday are medicinal materials, which can only be sold in pharmacies, and the unit price is not high. As long as they bring enough people, basically no one takes the risk of robbing them. Chang Yu asked, then why don't you do business with a lot of money? Man Baidao, medicines, grains, and tea can all be self-certified that they were grown by my own family and relatives. Even if the amount is larger, it is still a farmer. If I manage too many other things, my fourth brother may be separated out. Set up a business. As Man Bao's official became bigger and bigger, they became more and more cautious. Especially on the way back from the western regions, Man Bao and Bai Shan discussed it, and also consulted Mr. Zhuang. Now that she is an official, one of them is still a very noble editor, so she must cherish her reputation even more. Therefore, business can be done, but it is best to have something to do with agricultural and sideline products, such as grain, medicinal materials, cattle, sheep, etc., such as cloth, silk, and porcelain, and try to keep as few as possible, so as not to be caught. Man Bao encouraged Chang Yu, agricultural and sideline products are also very profitable. If you don't believe me, wait for you to come to my house, and I will show you the income of Tianzhuangzi for the past 2 years. Chang Yu immediately asked, when will your family have a banquet? The royal father has already promised us. You have to send us a message. Can we play on the street that day? While making money is important, having fun is even more important. Mingda also thinks so, the fief is still a little far away from her, and the moment is more important. Man Bao said, I have 6 days off. Starting tomorrow, Bai Shan and the others will also be free tomorrow. We will have a banquet the day after tomorrow. Man Bao said very schemingly, I've done the calculations. The day after tomorrow, everyone will have to go to the yamen. They can only come for a drink at noon at most, and they will go back to work in the afternoon. At that time, there will only be a few close friends left in my house. These female relatives, you don't have to be afraid of being seen, I will take you to take a tour of the garden, and then we will go to the lake in Hyogyo Temple to see the scenery. Changio and Mingda's eyes lit up. Can you still swim in the lake? Of course, the lake and spring in Hyogyo Temple are quite beautiful. There are many delicious things around the lake. Don't eat too much when you have a feast, keep a little stomach, and let's go out to eat delicious food. The maids and aunts on the side, the first time I saw someone hosting a banquet, the host persuaded the guests to eat less. Mingda and Changyu were very excited, and while their hearts moved, they whispered, "This is not good, right? Is this an amusement?" Man Bao said, "We can also offer incense to the Queen Mother at Hyogyo Temple, and wish her happiness and happiness in the West. By the way, let's take a look at Masters Hiran." They have not seen Masters Hiran when they came back from the western regions. I don't know if the injury of Jiren has healed. His kung fu is so powerful. Teach them some. When Mingda and Changyu heard it, they thought it was a good idea, so they wouldn't be able to have fun. When Man Bao finally got home, the sun was about to go down, and Bai Shan, who was writing the invitation, was very curious. "We passed by the Ministry of Rights when we came out of the Ministry of Officials, and they clearly said that you are coming home from the palace. How did you get there? Have you been walking until now until you come home?" Man Bao, "I was halfway through, and I remembered that I didn't know how to manage Shi, so I went back to ask Mingda and Changio for advice." Bai Shan, "Do they have any suggestions?" Man Bao shook his head, "Although they are princesses, they don't have lands now, so I don't know. I plan to leave everything to Changshi." Man Bao took out the long list and showed it to Bai Shan. "Nyo, my 500 food towns." Bai Shan glanced at it, faintly envious. "It's nice that your food is near. See you at 6 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl." Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2441. The official examination was over for most of the day, and everyone's results came out one after another in the afternoon of the second day. They came out on the third day, that is, the morning of Zhou Man's banquet. There is no ranking in the personnel examination, and there are only two results of pass or fail. If you pass, you can start waiting for the selection of officials. If you don't pass, you will have to wait for the exam next year. Bai Shan never doubted that he would fail, so in the morning, he washed up slowly, and only when he was ready did he ask Man Bao to see the results. He had the confidence to pass, and the reason why he called them was because he wanted to ask what he was missing when he was going to get his grades, and choose which officials he wanted to fill. Lu Huan also took the official examination, so they called him on the way. Lu Huan walked beside the two, very disappointed. "It's a pity that Bai and Yin may be studying in the palace." Man Bao said, "They have asked for leave, and they will leave the palace in a while. If you want, you can pick them up." "Oh, yes," Lu Huan said, "your family's banquet today is also a good day for Bai Er. There were a lot of people who came to the official department to see the results, but they didn't expect Bai Shan to come so early. Didn't they say that their family was going to have a banquet today?" Bai Shan didn't care what they thought. He pulled Man Bao and went up to look. He saw his name right away, so he lowered his voice and said happily, "See, at the top of the line, my grades must be very good. It is a pity that the personnel examination is not ranked, and if you pass it, you can be on the list." Although there is no ranking on the list, the officials who approve the papers know their details. Every year, the Ministry of Personnel exam is a way of selecting officials from the 3 provinces and 6 ministries and the 9 temples and 5 supervisors. So whoever answered it well, you all know in your heart. Bai Shan secretly wanted to come to say hello earlier and choose a location for the outing, but he had already chosen a location for him. After Bai Shan saw his name, he immediately pulled Man Bao to find someone, and wanted to use Man Bao to first look at the existing shortages. As soon as they heard that they wanted to see the lack of outsiders, The officials of the Ministry of Personnel gave Lu Huan a smile and praised, Xiao Langjun is very ambitious. Lu Huan, what does it have to do with him? He doesn't want to go out. Seeing the honor of Zhou Man, who was an official in the same dynasty, and the titles of Bai Shan and Lu Huan, the officials of the Ministry of Personnel turned a blind eye and showed them the vacancies that were being released. Bai Shan immediately lowered his head and looked at it for a long time. After looking at it for a long time, he found that the existing shortages were far away, either in Jiangnan or in the Lingnan area, and there were almost none in the Central Plains and the north. Bai Shan felt his chin and thought about it, and finally pointed to a place with some disappointment. Sir, is this Ruyan County in Quzhou? Good. Bai Shan gritted his teeth and said, then choose him. The official didn't expect him to be so straightforward, so he couldn't help looking at Lu Huan. Have you chosen? Lu Huan, he chose. What do you think I do? Official, didn't you want to go out? Lu Huan stared. Who said I'm going out? Then, if there are no shortages of the Ministry of Household and Ministry of Industry, I can also go to the Ministry of Rights. Official. The official looked at Bai Shan. Bai Shan also looked at him inexplicably and said, I chose this. He doesn't release it, I release it? Official, Bai Xianzi, your vacancy has been arranged. He directly took the list and didn't show it to them. Bai Shan was surprised. I haven't asked for a shortage yet. Why is there a shortage? It was arranged by the adults above, the official said. This is an official position. If you ask for what you want, you will give it if you give it. It's not bad if you lack it, how good it is. Bai Shan, what's missing? Hanlin Academy, the official said looking at Bai Shan with some envy and jealousy. This was personally ordered by Mr. Wei, and His Majesty also nodded. Congratulations to Bai Xianzi. Going around in circles, still want to read. Bai Shan, who had already imagined what he would do when he became the county magistrate, was like being thrown a bucket of cold water. He was stunned for a moment, then turned to look at Man Bao. Man Bao looked at him with special understanding, and could only pat his hand to comfort him. Don't be sad, Hanlin is at most 3 years, if His Majesty likes you, he will definitely let you go out to experience. The official on the side, entering the Hanlin directly, and immediately became the emperor's close minister. What's not to be satisfied with? Lu Huan was also very puzzled, but in front of outsiders, he didn't ask any questions, and kept walking with them. When there were only the 3 of them and their casual guards on the empty Imperial City Avenue, he asked, come in. Isn't the Hanlin Academy bad? I read and revise books every day, and I can also draft edicts for His Majesty, and be asked by His Majesty. How wonderful! If I can enter the Hanlin Academy, my grandfather will be able to hold a feast for 7 days and 7 nights. Bai Shan, so good, do you want to go? Lu Huan shook his head directly. Forget it, I don't like reading. Bai Shan muttered something, but Lu Huan didn't hear it clearly, so he asked him, what did you say? Bai Shan maintained a cold expression and said, it's nothing. Man Bao said, he said he doesn't like reading anymore. Bai Shan looked over. Lu Huan looked incredulous. Impossible, how could you not love reading? I see that you always enjoy reading books. That's because I'm interested in reading it, and I always have a time when I'm not interested, Bai Shan said. I just don't want to do my homework anymore. It's a good book in this world still a lot. To put it bluntly, he likes to read books, but he doesn't like to read books because of homework, and, I have learned so much, especially the laws and regulations, so I want to go to the local place to show my skills not much. It's just that the latter sees the prince every day, and the former sees the emperor every day. The latter wants to accompany the prince to study, and the former wants to accompany the emperor to study, and by the way, the emperor gets a strong man to write some edicts. He naturally knew that the network of contacts he had accumulated in the Hanlin Academy was incomparable to the outside world, not to mention the feelings and knowledge he cultivated near the Emperor. However, he just wanted to go out. It is like an open room full of gold, silver, and jewels. All the precious things in this world are in the room. Once inside, those things belong to him. There is a horse outside the house, only one horse, and then there is an endless grassland. When you get on the horse, you can gallop on the grassland. What you eat and drink, everything has to be very hard to get. You need to pay 10 times, even 100 times more time to get so much wealth in the house than it takes to walk in. However, he is still willing to go horseback riding. However, now someone has put a rope around him and pulled him directly into the house. Bai Shan. He sighed and wanted to go in. Man Bao leaned into his ear and said, I still have experiments in Huangchuang. Bai Shan came back to his senses. Well, the unwillingness in his heart has faded a lot, he can't really go out alone. Have to wait for the treasure. Lu Huan suddenly stopped. Wait a minute, is my name on the list? Bai Shan and Man Bao stopped and turned to look at him. See you at 9. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2442. Man Bao and Bai Shan couldn't help persuading him, since the adults can think that you want to go out, then you must be on the list. Lu Huan was still very depressed. How could he forget to look at his name? The three hurried back to the official department. The people in front of the list have all dispersed. Those who can pass the examination of the Ministry of Personnel are no fools, even if they have no connections. Take the opportunity to go around the Ministry of Personnel and get to know a few more people. Looking back, the election officials have something to say, right? So everyone dispersed. Bai Shan and the others could go straight to the top of the list. Lu Huan sniffed and looked from the back to the front. Bai Shan looked from the front to the back, and Man Bao looked back from the middle. After a while, Man Bao found her. She happily stepped forward and clicked the position. Look, here it is. Bai Shan and Lu Huan immediately leaned over to look at it. They both breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the words Lu Huan on it. Bai Shan said, Look, we didn't lie to you, did we? Li Maoyu stood under the porch and looked at the three of them. After a long while, he coughed speechlessly and asked, Master Zhou, Bai Xianzi, isn't your family holding a banquet today? Why don't you go back at this time? Man Bao looked up at the sun in the sky, and confidently said to Li Shangshu, it doesn't matter, everyone is still in the yat at the moment, so they definitely didn't go. Li Maoyu looked at her for a while, then said with an "Oh, I just came out of the palace, and even Lord Wei told His Majesty that he would end his political affairs early and ask you for a glass of water and wine. So the small court meeting is over." It was only then that Man Bao remembered, yes, today is the announcement. As a minister of officials, Li Maoyu will definitely attend the Xiaoqiao meeting. He is here right now. Man Bao stared, pulled Bai Shan, turned around and left. Bai Shan hurriedly bowed to Li Shangshu and immediately followed him out. Lu Huan was a little afraid of these elders who were about the same age as his grandfather, so he smiled with Li Shangshu and went after them. Man Bao stood on the avenue with a tangled expression on his face. Do you think we should go back to entertain guests immediately, or go to the palace and pick up Bai immediately? Bai Shan had already dragged her to the palace. Let's go, today is a happy event for the three families, but not from one family. Uncle and Aunt Tang came over from Changqing Lane early this morning. Mr. Bai and Mrs. Bai arrived in the capital just a few days ago. Their luggage was left at Zhou's house, but they were temporarily staying at Changqing Lane. Because the eldest son and his wife lived there, they also lived there in order to see their grandson. On the old Zhou's side, except for the couple who stayed in their hometown on Tuesday and Thursday, who was buying tea, everyone else was also in the capital. Most of the people Zhou Man invited were colleagues and ladies who got along well after getting to know Jingzhong, and there were many people from the Bai family. So this time, the banquet is actually divided into two parts. One part is the relatives of the Zhou family and the relatives of the Bai family. After Bai Shan passed the Jinshi examination the year before last, the Longzhou side has been in touch with their family. Not only Bai Shan, but also Bai Erlang, the branch that has been separated out, is ranked in the clan. Not to mention that this time Bai Shan and the others came back from the western regions, and they directly sealed the Baron and Viscount, and the food towns are all in Longzhou. Although it is not big, there are only a few villages, but it is enough to shock the Bai family. So they arrived in the capital 2 months earlier, and they were waiting to attend the banquet celebrated by the Bai family. And with their arrival, some of the Bai family's in-laws also emerged, so the number of guests in the Bai family increased. Originally, if they didn't have an invitation, it would be useless to come, but the family greeted them in advance. After Mrs. Lu pondered, she thought of the industry that was still in Longzhou, so she agreed. Jinyi does not return home, just like Jinyi travels at night. Since they take the initiative to come to the door, they will put on their most beautiful clothes and bring out their best food to entertain them. She had to take back everything she had taken from her. So Mrs. Lu made a lot of posts and sent them to them. She did her best to handle the banquet. Old Zhutu and Qian wanted to share some at first, but after seeing the things assigned by Mrs. Lu, they didn't speak, and simply gave her the full authority to handle it. People like them are very particular about which cups are used for which table, and Lao Zhutu and Qian can't even tell who is who. The couple discussed it and felt that they really couldn't help Man Bao in this matter. It was enough not to cause her trouble, so they called the children and left them to Mrs. Lu for conditioning, and let her just tell them if she had something to do. Just do it, and the idea will be decided by them, and they will be responsible for the work. Mrs. Lu secretly breathed a sigh of relief, smiled and agreed with the old Zhou head Qian, and turned around to use Wu Wu Lang. When Lao Zhou first saw it, he was happy, thinking that Mrs. Lu was indeed a family with them and would not see outsiders. Mrs. Lu also said to Mrs. Zheng, "It's also a generous family, this is Zhou's house, and Man Bao is one of the protagonists, but he can leave everything to us to take care of it, and he won't care about the long and short like other families. In the future, you let Man Bao and the others be their heads, and get along well with their relatives, they are all good talkers." Zheng obediently responded. "Anyway, there are a lot of people here today, most of whom are the clan of the Bai clan, so Bai Erlang, one of the protagonists, has to show up with them whenever he says anything." So Man Bao and the others stood at the gate of the palace, and they found a servant and asked him to go to Chongguan Hall to pass a message, and let Bai Erlang tidy up and come out quickly. He asked for leave yesterday, and he should have come out in the morning, he must have slept in late. The three of them waited lazily against the palace wall. Bai Shan said to her, "You are too lazy, you can even enter the palace." Man Bao snorted and turned to look to the other side. She was tired of walking, so she didn't want to go that far to Chongguan Museum. The three of them waited for a long time, and it was almost half an hour before Bai Erlang came out, but he was not alone, but a large group of people. In addition to the classmates who also asked for leave and went out to drink with him, there were also Princess Changjiao and Mingda. "Princess." Princess Mingda said solemnly, "We are going to Huguo Temple to offer incense." Man Bao nodded shyly. After everyone got on the horse and got on the carriage, Man Bao chased after him on his horse and quietly got into the carriage of the two princesses. The princesses' guards and court ladies turned their heads to the side and pretended not to see. Man Bao and Mingda crowded together and asked, "Why did you guys come out earlier?" Chang Yu pointed at Mingda and said, "Ask her." Mingda said embarrassedly, "I want to give the gifts prepared for you to buy to take back, who knows that when they are talking, cousin and the others are here." As soon as they hear that we are going to leave the palace, they will be together already. Man Bao comforted her, it's okay, I'll take them away in a while, and you can go home with me directly. I'm going to have a big hemorrhage tomorrow, so I'll save the manuscript tonight, and I'll start adding more on Monday. Whenever there is a large expenditure, I want to reach out to the sky and help me get up. I can write for another 8 days and 8 nights. See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2443. Man Bao got out, got on his horse and ran behind to find Zhao Liaolang and the others. What kind of refreshment do you want? Let's go back and prepare first, and you will change your clothes and come here just in time. Zhao Liaolang and the others, who didn't plan to go back to change clothes, were taken aback and asked, what clothes to change? Man Bao looked at them with disgust and said, all the posts for you have been delivered to your home, and you are planning to come to the door by yourself, without your daughter-in-law. Two said, we don't have a daughter-in-law. Man Bao, take your mother. Everyone was silent, and they could only nod their heads in agreement, so after leaving the imperial city, they went back to their respective houses, intending to come to the door with their family members. Man Bao and the others went to the street first. Mingda and Chang Yu got off the car, only brought 2 guards and 4 palace maids, and then took a carriage hired by Man Bao to go to Zhou's house in a low-key manner. The door of Zhou's house was opened, and the side doors on both sides were also open, but all the guests entered through the door. Man Bao and the others sneaked to the east side door and slipped in from there. Going in through the east side door and bypassing a courtyard is where Mr. Zhuang lived and the large study where they studied, and further down is the backyard, where Mrs. Lu and the others lived. Man Bao asked Bai Shan and the others to entertain guests, while she led Mingda and Chang Yu to find Zhengs to play. Zheng Shi was indeed in the backyard and was taking the servants to count the items on the list. When he saw them coming, he immediately stepped forward with a smile, first bowed to Mingda Changjiu, and then whispered, I have arranged for the flower room. Now there is no one in the back garden, you go and have a look, tell me what else is missing, and I will prepare it for you. Man Bao happily responded, and pulled Mingda and the others to see it. A lot of things in the flower room have been removed, but there are only some flowers that bloom better, and they are placed in beautiful flower pots. Ever since she knew that the princesses were coming to the banquet quietly, the Zheng family began to pack up. The windows on both sides of the flower house were opened, and even the thatched grass on the roof to keep out the cold was removed, so at this time there was sunlight pouring down from the gaps in the roof. The windows in the southeast were wide open, and a large amount of sunlight came in, and the wooden benches placed on both sides were sprinkled with sunlight. It was the first time for Mingda and Chang Yu to see such a wild house, so they happily picked up their skirts and ran in. Where is your house? It's clearly similar to Changxian. Mingda counted the windows and said happily, she has 8 windows on her side, but isn't it similar to the open house? How can you make a flower house in winter like this? Man Bao said, in winter, the windows are not only closed, but the gaps are covered with thatch outside. There is a fire in this house. You see, it is the chimney. After the fire is burned, the house is warmed, but the smoke seeps through there. Mingda, it's similar to the flower room in the palace, except that one side of the flower room in the palace is made of colored glass, so that it can penetrate the sun and keep warm. Man Bao was stunned, the cost is too big. Chang Yu asked curiously, what good flowers do you have in your family? Is the flower room here? Just a few pots of peonies and bluegrass. Except for the trouble and some firewood, the rest is fine. Like her, Aunt Zheng also likes flowers and plants, but she likes to dig, while Aunt Zheng likes to plant. This flower house was made by herself when she was bored. The house was designed by herself, and she deliberately opened a few more windows. She thought that if the flower house could not be made in the end, she opened the windows and removed the wooden wall on the other side, so that it could become a veranda. Yes, from here you can see the lake water and the plum blossoms on the other side, which is also very wild. Zheng Shi always has his own unique views on beauty. Mingda obviously understands Zheng's definition of beauty, and also thinks this place is excellent. The most important thing is that its location is also wonderful. It is in a corner of the back garden, with the lake not far in front and the Merlin on the other side. Merlin walked out for a while to be the open house they were familiar with before. Most of the guests who come to Joe's house are active there. They are here, because they are separated by a lake and Merlin. It is basically difficult to find them. There is only one path out from here, and Manbao has set up a sign in front of the path, prohibiting outsiders from entering and leaving. In addition, you can only come by boat from the lake. However, Manbao towed the boat away, so Mingda and the others were absolutely safe here. The guard standing outside the window listened to Zhou Man's proud show, and was speechless for a while. What is there to show off? Mingda and Chang Yu were very happy. They felt that as long as they were able to leave the palace, even if they just sat quietly watching the flowers and trees, they would be happy. So Mingda readily pushed Manbao, "Go and entertain the guests, there are a lot of people here today for you." Manbao hesitated for a moment and then said, "Then you wait, we will ask my niece to accompany you." Chang Yu's eyes lit up, "Let your second niece come." Manbao was amused, but nodded anyway, "Okay, I'll let Lejun and Liru both come." Zhou Lejun is not very busy, because she has many aunts, and everything that should be prepared in the early stage is ready. Today, the main thing is to keep an eye on the back kitchen so that nothing happens. There are so many daughters-in-law in the old Zhou family. As long as a person is responsible for the task at hand, there is no problem at all. As for the front yard, of course, Manbao greeted them. Bai Dalan and Zhou Dalan also helped out in front, and Manbao brought Zhou Lizhong and several nephews to the front, and called Wu Lang last week, "Brother Fifth, you also help to greet the guests." So no matter how many guests come in, one person will bring a family, and they will be sent to their place in the back in an instant. After sending a few greetings, they will come up again, so there is an endless stream, and every guest is greeted by the owner in person. It simply made them feel the greatest respect. Mr. Wei also brought his wife and young son over, and Manbao took Bai Erlang to entertain himself. "Why is Bai Erlang?" "Because, you are the brother-in-law, you can talk more in a while. By the way, you can quietly take him to the flower house for a walk, quietly, to avoid Mr. Wei. If Lord Wei knew that the princesses came here to leave the palace, they would definitely scold the emperor." Bai Erlang nodded again and again, so Bai Erlang took Wei Yu away. Manbao invited Mrs. Wei to the backyard, and Bai Shan held back a smile and invited Wei Ji to the table. Wei Ji looked at Bai Shan and said with a smile, "I heard people say that you went to the Ministry of Personnel today to choose an official position outside the office." Bai Shan's smile faded a little, and he said bitterly, "Has this already reached the ears of adults in less than 2 hours?" Wei Ji smiled and said, "It's not a secret. This kind of news spreads the fastest in the imperial city." Wei Ji looked at his expression and advised with a smile, "Young man, although the sky is vast, you need to have enough down on your wings, and when you spread it out big enough, you can fly high, or it will fall off easily. I have to polish it again, ha ha ha." Bai Shan gave a wry smile and humbly answered yes. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2444. Wei Ji was very satisfied. He stroked his beard and said, "Although it was the old man's suggestion to let you enter the Hanlin Academy, it was personally ordered by His Majesty. Among the many Jinchi who passed the official examination with you, only 3 have this honor, and you are the youngest one." Bai Shan is not only the youngest one, he is also a Jinchi the year before, and he is one class ahead of the other two selected this time. After all, he is still their senior. Wei Ji wanted to laugh at the thought of this. Bai Shan invited Wei Ji to sit down, and turned around to greet Zhao Qiagong, and Zhao Liaolang who were here to celebrate. This time, the three families held the same banquet in the same place at the same time, and there were quite a lot of people who came. They also stated on the invitation, so that everyone should not spend too much money, so everyone came to the banquet and only gave one gift. As for how the three families are divided in the end, that is their own business. However, Zhao Qiagong still sent 3 gifts, each with a name written on it, and Zhou Man's gift list was the longest, more than double the sum of Bai Shan and Bai Erlang. Although the concierge can't sing about gifts, as soon as people came, the servant with the gift box came in, plus the 3 gift slips that were sent out. The gift slip in Zhou Lizhong's hand was unfolded and it was the elder, everyone. It's hard not to notice. Some officials who saw it couldn't help but mutter, when did Duke Zhao and Zhou Man get along so well? Tisk, apologize for what happened last time. The other party reacted for a while before he remembered what he said, and said, how long has it been since then? Didn't Zhao Qiagong become the Minister of War? That's not necessarily. Before, it was because Zhou Manren was in Huangchuang, and the Zhou family had no one who could be her master, but now that people come out, they have to make amends. The Zhao family is so embarrassing for Zhou Man, and it is not only Zhou Man who offends Zhou Man. And the Thai hospital. He sneered at convenience. The Thai hospital is just a group of medical craftsmen, and they always obey the orders of Shangguan. The official who spoke quietly moved away from him and said with a smile, let's go in. I think even Lord Tang is here. Let's have a wedding wine during our lunch break, so we don't need to be afraid of being impeached. There are a lot of guests today. In fact, Zhou Man and the others didn't plan to invite so many people. Apart from getting along well, they didn't want to invite too many people from the court. I can't stand the number of people asking these 2 days. Everyone took the initiative to ask. Naturally, the 3 of them could only laugh and say that they would be invited to drink when the time came. The other party took advantage of the situation and said to wait for the good news. Then they naturally had to send the post, otherwise it would be too offensive. So the more and more posts were sent, which created the excitement today. The avenue in front of the door where 4 carriages can walk side by side is now blocked, and the carriages from both sides of the avenue directly blocked this area. The steward of the Bai family came out to clear up, and quickly arranged the carriage in or out, so that the guests did not wait for a long time. But the number of people who came was still unexpectedly large. Looking at it from a distance, there were more people than Lu Huan's banquet. No wonder everyone held it so much, it was because Bai Shanzouman and Bai Cheng had a bright future. If you can get closer to them at the end of the day, you will get along better in the future, right? Today's emperor is a very generous person. He has never been stingy with his titles, and he has made great contributions in wars. Great achievements in politics, seal. Those who have great interests with the country and the people, and who have a good reputation among the people, will be sealed. In the words of the emperor, if the treasury has no money, it is a big deal that he will not be named Jiaoju, and he will directly circle a piece of land to reward the person. There is still a lot of wasteland under the name of the imperial court. Too many people died in the previous wars. But the emperor is so generous, and there are not many who can be knighted in recent years. Of course, Bai Shan and the others are definitely not the highest. Marquis and earls still have them in recent years. But they are definitely the ones with the greatest future. Zhou Man doesn't need to talk about it, just look at her promotion path in the past few years. The Chongguan Museum is silent, someone has inquired with it privately, and no one can find out the faults of the books she compiled. They specialize in the arts, and even in the books they compiled for the Imperial Child Supervisor, they can occasionally say a few words, and they are quite bright. Anyway, Kong Jiju has used her own analysis many times. A physician is not terrible, but what if she is not a physician? You must know that her official rank in Kongwengan is higher than that in the Imperial Hospital, so although she is an Imperial doctor, she is also a civil servant. Kongwengan editor, what a noble position, if she is not a woman, and only writes medical books. With the number of books she is writing now, it is very likely that she will go further and go directly to Kyozajian part-time. Choose one. So this one's future cannot be guessed, because there is no example of her future, who knows where she can go. When she first became an official, everyone thought that she would be worth it for the rest of her life if she was able to sit firmly in the 5th rank official position, but as a result, everyone was 4th rank. How many people have been stuck on the level of rank 5 and rank 4 all their lives? Zhou Man's future is unpredictable, but Bai Shan's can. This one is really a young talent. If it wasn't for Yang and Shizuyu, he might have amazed the adults in the court. But even with Yang Heshu in front, Bai Shan was amazing. Moreover, he has better advantages than Yang and Shu. He came from an aristocratic family, but he was from a very aristocratic family. Unlike Yang Heshu, they had a big family. They also had a noble concubine and a prince in the palace, so the adults were actually a little suspicious when they used him at first. It was Yang Heshu who clearly stated his ideals and took the initiative to choose a remote and poor Xia county like Lujiang County for experience, and His Majesty really cherishes talents and is reluctant to use such a person. So Yang Heshu was promoted again and again. But Bai Shan doesn't have these concerns, and he has a better reputation than Yang Heshu. He has a good reputation in Shilin for not being afraid of power and being loyal and filial. Just because of the King of Yizhu, officials and students from Jianese Road recognize him, and he is from Longzhou, Guanyi Road. This is subtle. Coupled with his own talent, this one may go even more smoothly than Yang Heshu in the future. It's a pity that they are not at the same age nor at the same level, otherwise they can watch a game where the king does not see the king. Bai Cheng's future can be seen more clearly, just because of the emperor's love for Princess Mingda. Even if he doesn't have a real job in the future, his life will definitely not be bad. The best thing is that the prince also loves Mingda, his younger sister, which means that, if nothing else, he may have been Jane's character in the emperor's heart in both dynasties. So how could they not participate in such a 3-person knighthood feast? It is definitely necessary to participate, otherwise in the future, if people go further, they may really not have the opportunity to participate. So, everyone who came in was very enthusiastic about Bai Shan, Bai Cheng, and Man Bao, and the 3 of them could only return their enthusiasm. Even if there were friends who shared this enthusiasm, their faces still froze. It was so stiff that when they turned to face Yin Or and Lu Huan, they still had a stiff smile. Yin Or, if you don't want to laugh, stop laughing. He looked weird. See you at 10 o'clock at night. I had a little accident when I got home tonight, so I came home very late, sorry.